My name is Jackson Fitzgerald. I'm a senior here at Penn State, and today I'm going to be talking about the student conduct system at Penn State, specifically as it involves individuals in such a process. So to start this off, I sort of want to throw you all in an example just so you can sort of understand some of the parameters around the system. So imagine, some of you here actually fit this description, but imagine you're a 20-year-old, you're a sophomore, and you just finished your finals. You get to go home to Pittsburgh or Philadelphia to visit your friends after finals. You go over to your friend's house after finals, after that week, and you guys decide to have a few drinks. You yourself drive there, and you do not drink yourself, but at the party, it gets a little bit too loud, and the neighbors call the police. The neighbors come, the police come and take everybody's name down. 2 weeks later, you're scheduled for a court date, and you decide to take an attorney to defend yourself. Naturally, you present your case, you say that you were not drinking, and you were found not guilty. But 3 months later, due to the Penn State off-campus conduct policy, you yourself are called into the Office of Student Conduct. You are tried for an alcohol violation, and you go into the Buki building right on campus and sit down across from the case manager. These case managers, who work for the university, are well-equipped and well-versed in the student conduct policy. They sit across from you in this room, and they talk through the details of such a case. They said that they have a private investigator who had different details of the case. They examined witnesses who were at such a party, and they find you guilty of the Penn State alcohol policy, and you yourself are assigned a $250 fine, essentially paying for the Penn State alcohol class basics, and you were put on student probation because of this. My speech today isn't necessarily going to talk about certain specifics of that case, but rather how you, an individual, were not allowed to present your best case in such a meeting. Specifically, I want to talk about 3 aspects of this example that would apply to different examples throughout the process. The 3 examples are, in order: 1, easier access and more transparency with the investigative process. Like I said, this investigator said they had information from either witnesses or different sources regarding this example. Specifically, that you did in fact drink alcohol, even though you didn't. Because of the lack of transparency, you were not able to defend certain aspects of what they were saying. Number 2, and related to number 1, the lack of cross-examination of witnesses by the accused. The investigator and the case manager said that you in fact were claimed by a witness to have been seen drinking alcohol. You could not cross-examine this witness for validity, and by this you were hindered to defend yourself even further. And the third part, and I would say the most important part, is the lack of the ability for a student, the accused, you in this example, to bring an advisor with you and for that advisor to participate in such a meeting. You are allowed to bring an advisor, but per the policy, the advisor, are not allowed to participate. This advisor could be an attorney, a teacher, a friend, anybody. But like I said, they themselves cannot participate. This does a few things. The lack of rights for students does a few things. 1, it hinders the students who typically would be able to make a good case against themselves. These changes specifically would not allow somebody who is guilty of a violation and deserves to be punished or go through this process. They are not hindered, the guilty, by these additions of rights. Rather, it is the innocent that would have rights enhanced. It is the people who justifiably just made a mistake and need to defend themselves for a lesser sentence, something that's more fitting. So behind me are 2 report cards, one side by side. Each one is assigned to a different university. Specifically, these are made by the Foundation of Individual Rights in Education, or FIRE, a nonpartisan organization comprised of former ACLU attorneys and law professors from all over the country, some of the largest and smartest legal minds, like I said, in the country. And what they do, they examine the student conduct process of each university. They go through, and using these parameters behind me, mark them on a scale of 1 to 10 on how efficient they are. 1 to 3 we'd be assigned a red X. 4 to 6, a yellow box with a dash. 7 to 10 is a green check mark. As you can see on the left, FIRE's report card for Penn State looks something like this. A lot of red X's, some yellow, and ultimately a lot of flaws altogether. As you can see, for the specific details that I think would be a great positive change: cross-examination, impartial fact finders, which is in a way transparency in investigation, and active participation of counsel, all received red X's. And what's interesting is that the report card on the right, the University of Michigan, a comparable Big Ten university, has 3 green check marks for these exact details. And what's interesting is other comparable universities over the past 10 years have all moved in this direction. We do not like to replicate other universities. We at Penn State hold ourselves to a higher standard, but we're behind the curve. There are details that we're behind. The University of Wisconsin, another comparable Big Ten institution. The University of Pennsylvania, located in Philadelphia, and Carnegie Mellon University, located in my home of Pittsburgh, have all changed these details in the last 4 years while I've been here at Penn State. I think it's important to change these, not because we're going to replicate other universities, but because these universities understand that this enhances the students' rights on campus. And it does one other thing that I think is rather important. It strengthens the bridge of trust between the university and its students. It makes it so that students trust such a system. They know their rights are going to be upheld. They can go into a system without a level of resentment. And often, due to these lack of policies, these lack of rights, this bridge isn't supported very strongly. The students have a level of resentment, and the overall policy isn't trusted as much. What it would do is, like I said, create trust between these two entities and eliminate the us versus them mentality, especially when a student gets in trouble. The code is open to the public. Fire uses it, students use it, I used it partially for the speech. You can go in and look through all the details, but it's voted on by the Board of Trustees. It is rarely set by the Office of Student Conduct. So this would essentially be pushed to the Board of Trustees to make this decision. So we have to ask ourselves, would the mission of the Student Conduct Office, which is a noble mission, is it truly being upheld right now with the details of the case? I think these 3 changes, the one I talked about, open investigation policies, cross-examination of witnesses, and involvement of an advisor, would make sure that this mission, like I said, a noble mission, is upheld and that it's played out correctly. We hopefully would one day, soon, like I said, due to the Board of Trustees, move our report card from this to this, and that would make everyone's life a little bit better. Thank you.